Let me ask you something, and this is a serious question. Why are the religious so happy to make fools of themselves in public? Why are they willing to say stupid stuff that they would never take seriously in any other context, yet they can't see that they're just acting like complete fools all the time? These are questions that ought to bother them, but sadly, we all know that they don't. I wonder why. We see this a lot, but Christians, and let's be honest, it's almost all religions that do it, but we're going to focus on Christianity for this video, who claim that they can prove God, yet they are never actually able to prove God, right? They are only preaching to the already faithful choir because they know that anyone critical of their beliefs and skeptical of their methodology, they would never fall for any of it. So let's go and take a look at another one of those. I'd say they never get old, but yeah, we all know that's not true.
Is God real? How do we know if God is real?
That's really the question, though, isn't it? I can tell you all kinds of ways that we don't know if a God is real, and I figure that's about all that's going to appear in this video, so let's get some of them out of the way up front. You do not know if a God is real because you really want your God to be real. That's not how reality works. You do not know that a God is real because you have faith. You do not know if a God is real because a book says a thing. You do not know if a God is real because some guy in a pulpit says that he is. You don't know if a God is real because you have an experience, unless said experience is objectively verifiable and independently testable. And I'm sure there's a lot of other ways not to tell that a God is real, but I figure that should suffice for now. So, how many do you think he's going to try? Get out your bingo cards and let's see.
Yes, God is real. This belief based on evidence, or is it simply a matter of faith? The entire universe is fine-tuned for life, which suggests an intelligent creator designed it.
Well, I guess that answers that. These automated audio presentations really suck, you know? If this had been anything else, I probably would have clicked away by now. If you can't do your own work, if you can't put your own voice on it, then please, just don't bother at all. But, yeah, alright, whatever. Let's soldier on.
The complexity of human life also indicates design, as it could not have arisen through natural selection alone.
Really? Do tell. Because that's another thing that doesn't prove that a God is real. Just making random bald-ass assertions without any kind of corroboratory evidence. Well, I don't get it, therefore God, is not a rational way to look at the world. Please do better.
The Bible says that there are people who have seen sufficient evidence, but they have suppressed the truth about God.
A book says a thing. Well, that doesn't make that thing true. The Quran says that everybody knows that Allah is real. Are you signing up for Islam now? Because this is where these people really start to look dumb, because they just blindly believe what they're told without the capacity to go out and verify it for themselves, absent their magical storybooks. It doesn't matter what your book says until you can prove that your book is worthwhile. You might want to get on that.
One on the other hand, for those who want to know God if he is there, he says, "You will seek me and find me. When you seek me with all your heart, I will be found by you."
That doesn't mean anything. Empty claims are just that. Empty. It's why the religious don't get anywhere when trying to talk to the non-religiously gullible. We're not looking for emotional comfort. We just want to find the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And that is exactly why all of these, well, we can prove God is real videos fare so badly. Because they don't know what proof is. They're just after confirmation bias.
Human beings' personal experiences.
Yep. Did I call it or what? And honestly, I have not seen this video, so I couldn't have written that into the intro. This is just so absurdly easy to predict because this is the mindset that the religious tend to go by. Once you have enough experience with these people, you can spot their script from a mile away. Sadly, they just don't care, do they? They just want to believe. It's why they spend all of their time making complete fools of themselves. Maybe it's time they tried growing up.
There is certainly a lot of evidence to suggest that God exists. For example, many people have had religious experiences that they could not explain.
That doesn't mean that it doesn't have explanations. Just because you're stupid or gullible, that doesn't mean that there aren't legitimate answers. People thought disease was caused by bad air or demon possessions once upon a time too. They were just wrong. The explanation was always there, it just wasn't within their grasp at that moment. It's really sad watching these people flounder, but hey, it is kind of funny to watch them try, right? So let's keep going.
These experiences often leave people with a strong sense of awe and wonder. And they often feel that they have been in touch with something divine. Want to experience God personally?
Which can be entirely replicated scientifically. It's all just brain chemistry, and it is very well understood. Try putting on the God helmet, and you'll have all kinds of experiences. Just because you really want it to be true, that doesn't mean that it's true. And this is, as I keep saying, another case of, well, I don't get it, therefore God. The problem is, God isn't the universal answer that you seem to think that he is. God is just a placeholder for your own ignorance. And that's really not anything that you should be proud of. And it's no more rational here than it was in the past. Endless confirmation bias and wishful thinking, they just aren't impressive. Just stop it. Seek help.
There are also many phenomena that science cannot explain, such as the placebo effect or near-death experiences.
So what? The default answer isn't God. It's, I don't know. You don't have to make up answers that you really like just because you don't have one at hand. This is the sad part that we see from the religious every single day. Your fifis, they don't matter. Anyone with an ounce of intellectual integrity has to know that. And I guess that explains a lot about the religious, doesn't it? Kinda sad, huh?
These events suggest that there is more to life than what we can see and touch. There is an unseen realm that is beyond our understanding.
Nope, it does absolutely nothing of the sort. We understand the placebo effect and near-death experiences, and there is nothing supernatural in any of it. This is called leaping off a bridge of illogic. But I really want it to be true. Okay, so what? That means absolutely nothing. The only way to get to an actual demonstration of a real God is to provide evidence that a real God exists. Slap one up on the table for us to examine, because absolutely nothing less will do. Oh, they've got a lot of excuses for why they can't do that, right? Why? Because they're desperate to keep their God beliefs in play, when they have absolutely no rational justification whatsoever. Of course, who cares about rational justifications? Certainly not the religious. They just really want to believe.
Some people believe that this unseen realm is what we call God.
Some people, they're just idiots. Now, this is where I really go a lot farther, faster than a lot of other atheists on YouTube, because I won't ever let them go to, well, I just call that God, without calling bullshit. I don't care what you call it. I care what's real. Demonstrate to me that your claims are factually correct, with corroboratory evidence, or the conversation stops here. Now, I'm sure that thought would be comforting to a lot of crazy theists who just don't want to be put into the intellectual ringer. But it just makes things a whole lot easier if we won't let them dance through their theological hoops before we drop the hammer on them. Don't even start. Stop being stupid.
Natural world. There are also scientific arguments for God's existence. For example, the entire universe is fine-tuned for life, which suggests an intelligent creator designed it.
Which is absolutely not true. Here too, they're just making claims of design without any actual demonstration of design. They just want it to be true. And that's very easy to take apart as well. Virtually all theists who try this, they are emotionally attached to the idea of humanity. But it was all made for us. No, it wasn't. We weren't planned from the start. We are the end result of physical processes that just so happened to allow our form of life to come about. Had things been different, then whatever life form had evolved, if there would have been any life forms at all, it would have had to fit those different criteria. We are not special. And that usually just makes these people crap their pants. I mean, the very idea that we are not just perfect and wonderful. Because they're not at all interested in the facts. And that's kind of the problem.
The complexity of human life also indicates design, as it could not have arisen through natural selection alone.
Except from every single bit of evidence that we have, that is exactly what happened. It's pretty simple to understand the religious mindset. It's either a giant argument from ignorance, well, I don't get it, therefore God, or it's just confirmation bias. But I really want it to be true. Because there's really not that much else there. It's a desire for their feelings to be coddled. But their feelings don't mean a damn thing, do they? Reality exists entirely absent their overactive egos. Don't let them get away with it. Point out everything that they're doing wrong.
So, is God real? There is certainly evidence to suggest that he is. However, everyone will have to come to their own conclusions on this matter.
Because that's another problem. Reality, as far as we can tell anyway, is the same for everyone. Now, maybe your own personal interpretations and experiences of reality might vary, but overall, the real world is the real world, no matter what you believe. The religious, and they're certainly not alone, pretend that you have a choice. But you don't. You can't decide that gravity just isn't going to work today and jump off a building to prove it. Your belief, no matter how heartfelt, no matter how much you really want to believe it, it doesn't matter. You're still going to go splat. For me, there's a God. No, you're just delusional. What exists, exists. And what doesn't, doesn't. And it might be difficult to prove the real and disprove the unreal sometimes, but that doesn't change the actual facts. Your opinions and your beliefs and your faith, none of that matters. Grow the hell up.
What matters most is not whether or not such a God exists, but how we live our lives in light of this knowledge.
But if God isn't real, and I mean actually real, physically, spiritually, whatever, then you don't have knowledge. You only have faith. Knowledge requires some objective basis in fact. Where's yours? Because that's a good question to ask these people. How do you know that, and how do you prove it? And they are not going to have a good answer. I know and I have faith. They are not synonymous. Stop pretending that they are.
Arguments for and against the existence of God. When it comes to the question of whether or not God is real, there are two main camps: those who believe in his existence, Christian faith, and those who do not.
You're kind of forgetting about every single other religion that has ever existed, aren't you? Mostly, they all believe in gods of some kind, right? Of course, they don't really care about any of that, do they? They're just trying to get to their own emotionally comforting, wishful thinking. Nuance is not part of their playbook. This is why you really need to pay attention to the words that they're using and call them out on it immediately when they fail. The only dichotomy here is between people who believe that gods exist and people who don't. Otherwise, there's a whole lot of details that need to be discussed.
Each side has its own set of arguments, which we will explore in this section.
Except atheists don't need arguments. Atheists just look at what the religious have proposed and say, yep, I don't buy it. I don't have to prove that no gods exist, because gods are not the default position. I just have to say that the arguments presented have not convinced me that they do. This is just an attempt to shift the burden of proof. It's not our job. It's theirs, 100% of the time.
The first camp is made up of those who believe that God exists. This group includes many people from different backgrounds and walks of life. Some believe in God because they have had a personal experience with Him, while others believe based on what they see in the world around them. Here are some common arguments that people use to support the belief that God is real.
What the hell did that even mean? Screw these stupid computer voice videos. Now he's starting to repeat himself because that's kind of where the video started, isn't it? None of these things are demonstrably true, which I guess is hardly a surprise. I've already explained why they fail, so let's just continue and hope he gets to a new point.
The argument from prophecy. This argument states that many people throughout history have accurately predicted future events.
Name one, because this is just more reading into things, stuff that isn't actually there. Well, it's close enough. No, it is not. A prophecy would have to refer to one and only one demonstrable future event, such that it provides specific details that could not have been foreseen, nor that could have been forced to happen by later believers. Show us one of those, because they simply don't exist.
These predictions could not have been made without the help of divine intervention.
Which asshole did you yank that one out of? Because that's just a bald assertion, not supported by any evidence of any kind at all. But I really want it to be true. That doesn't make it true. The second that you start looking at these claims with critical eyes, that's when you realize just how dumb it all is. They are desperately trying to get to their emotionally comforting conclusion, not to any actual demonstrable truth. For them, truth doesn't matter. Only their pathetic fifis do.
Which proves that God exists and is a personal God who is involved in human affairs.
It does absolutely nothing of the sort. Notice what he's doing here. He's jumping from, well, there was a prophecy. I mean, not anything that can be demonstrated, just a claimed prophecy, which he then claims proves divine intervention. I mean, no evidence offered for that at all. It's just an irrational claim. And then from there, he just leaps to, well, God exists. Not a God, his God. Why? Because that's where he wanted to go all along. That isn't how any of this works, though. You'd have to walk me through all of the individual steps. Show me how you reached each and every conclusion without relying on faith, that your beliefs were right in the first place, or that you really liked the idea, because that doesn't matter, and then we might have something to discuss. This is just, but I really want to believe. That's really just stupid.
The argument from personal experience. This is a subjective argument.
Then it doesn't mean anything. That was easy. We're not asking what you believe. We're asking what you can prove. Because here's something that I've been kicking around lately. You know how I'm critical of a lot of atheists who just let the religious run on for a while, making all kinds of claims, and only when they get into something egregious in the middle do they ever put up an objection. Now, I don't do that. I ask for proof for their gods up front. If you can't provide that, then we have nothing else to talk about. It's like having a UFO nutball start by asserting that aliens are real and then just running around with the goalposts for a while until the supposedly rational person objects to the question of whether or not aliens use lube on their anal probes. I'm sorry, but if you can't back up the idea of aliens in the first place, then everything else that you say is entirely irrelevant. If the religious can't prove that their gods are real, then there's no such thing as a personal experience with a god. Because you can't have a personal experience with something that you can't prove is real. It's just dumb. So anyway, let's get back to that sentence already in progress.
But many people believe that their own personal experiences with God are evidence of His reality.
How does that work exactly? They can't show that they are having experiences with God. Just because you staple a name onto those supposed experiences, that doesn't prove that God done it. Again, we're right back to, but I really want it to be true. What you want doesn't matter. Only what you can prove does. So get to work and stop wasting our time with this ridiculous mental masturbation. You're just making yourself look dumb.
These experiences could include things like answered prayers, a sense of peace or joy in difficult times, or a feeling of being loved and accepted despite one's flaws.
And that is exactly where the video ends. Sure. Whatever you say. But it feels good, so it has to be God. I mean, really, what the hell is wrong with these people? This is why you have to go after their very first indefensible claim. Because once they get that one out there, unchallenged, they can just run around with the goalposts forever. Prove God. Prove it right now, right here, to my satisfaction. Otherwise, I got better things to do. You're the one who is supposed to be proving God to me, right? I mean, Matthew 28:19-20 doesn't say, we'll try to convert all the nations unless they ask you some difficult questions. It says, go out there and do it. Now, go ahead. Otherwise, you are just failing in the Great Commission. Yet notice just how pathetic all of the Christians today are, right? They can't do it, and they know they can't do it because they lack the basic skills and certainly the necessary evidence to prove that any of their claims are true. So they just make excuses for why it's not really their fault. I mean, they tried, right? Or actually, they half-assed it, and now it's God's responsibility to come in and clean up their mess. Except that's not how anybody with a brain or a clue actually operates. It's why the religious have neither of those things. And again, kind of sad, right? We just had yet another demonstration of how dumb these people really are. Tomorrow's another day. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be getting any better.